We've got breaking news out of the NHL. The Rangers have fired head coach Pete Laviolette just after 2 seasons. New York missed the playoffs this season, just 1 year removed from winning the President's Trophy and reaching the Eastern Conference Finals. This was Laviolette's 6th stint as an NHL head coach. He's the only man in league history to lead 6 different teams to the Stanley Cup playoffs. He also has the 7th most wins of any head coach in NHL history. The Rangers will have the 11th best odds to win this year's draft lottery that takes place on May 7th. Heard a lot of good things mixed in there for a coach to get fired, and so let's break it down with our analyst, Pete Blackburn. Pete, the Rangers were just in the Eastern Conference Finals last season, and anytime these firings happen, we play the blame game, right? Who's to blame? Do you believe that this was the right move for the organization, especially when you think about all that they accomplished just a year ago?
Yeah, I think it was the right move. It's definitely not shocking. I don't know if it's the only move. I think there's plenty of blame to go around for the Rangers, but when you look at the drop-off from last season when they won the President's Trophy to what they were this year, it was kind of a disaster. And I think a big thing that you can point to for the firing of Peter Laviolette is the lack of player development in terms of young players in New York. Like, you're talking about a big drop-off for Alexis Lafreniere from what he was a couple years ago to this year. The Capo Caco saga ended up with him getting traded to Seattle this year. Even the Gabe Perreault saga at the end of the year with him being sat by Peter Laviolette in the final days of the season after signing his entry-level contract. You can question what he's done with some of those young players, but I think at the end of the day, this was just something that needed to happen. The Rangers were a massive drop-off. The culture isn't really that great there right now, and I think that maybe Peter Laviolette lost the room a little bit. So it's not surprising, but I think that there's probably more changes to come if you're the New York Rangers.
You know, when we were doing the lead-in here, we listed all the great that he's done, right? 6 teams to the Stanley Cup championship, or the final, I should say. The only coach to do that. The 7th most wins in NHL history, and of course the success from a year ago. So you'd like to think that maybe there's a team that takes a chance on him again. What do you think about his outlook as a head coach in the NHL?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, good coaches get fired all the time. It's hard to get another job if you're not a good coach. So I think Peter Laviolette will have a market. There's plenty of teams that are looking for a head coach, and he could return home to like the Boston Bruins. He's a local guy. I think it would make sense. I don't think there's going to be any shortage of suitors for Peter Laviolette if he wants another job. So people make jokes all the time about the carousel that is like old hockey guys and just being recycled in these jobs over and over and over again. I think Peter Laviolette, no disrespect, kind of fits into that mold where you expect him to kind of change jobs every handful of years, and he'll find success, and then he'll change jobs again. It's just kind of the way that things work in the NHL these days.
It reminds me a lot of like professional soccer overseas, where you have these great seasons and then all of a sudden one bad season and you're out. So it's just the nature of the game. Fans want wins, and he was not bringing wins to the city. If we pivot our attention back to the Rangers, Pete, who would you like to see step in and address some of those issues you laid out earlier?
Well, assuming Chris Drury keeps his job as GM there, I do wonder about Mike Sullivan, because they have a relationship that goes back decades at this point. Mike Sullivan's currently the head coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Whether that changes in the coming weeks, we'll see. The Penguins have been a disappointing team. I don't fully blame Mike Sullivan for that. I think it's more about roster construction. But Mike Sullivan, if he frees up, I think that makes a lot of sense in New York. But another guy that I wonder about is David Carl, who is the head coach of the University of Denver, and everybody's talking about when will David Carl come to the NHL, and I think that he's so sought after that he is willing to wait and bide his time for the perfect situation for himself. And I think that includes both financially, I think it includes roster construction-wise and the outlook of a team, and I think it also includes the market. And when you're talking about the New York Rangers, it's an Original Six franchise. It is one of the most sought-after jobs in all of hockey because of that market size and the gravitational pull to Madison Square Garden. And when you're talking about Jim Dolan and the desperation factor and how much MSG has in terms of financial capability, that could be a very, very solid landing spot for David Carl. And so, I think that's something to keep an eye on.
It's hard not to get excited about the potential of coaching at a historic place like MSG. We'll have to see how it all shakes out. Pete Blackburn joining us here on CBS Sports HQ as the Rangers have officially made a coaching change. They have parted ways with their now former head coach, Peter Laviolette. So taking a look at some of the coaching changes that we have seen as of late, and by as of late, I mean today, here's a look at some of the names who are no longer with their respective clubs. The Bruins, Rangers, Flyers, Blackhawks, and Ducks all seeking new leadership.